Hola, muy buenas tardes a quienes se conectan a este webinar con Penn State University, el programa o la facultad más bien, Dickinson Law. Yo soy Karen Cubides, soy parte del área de consejería académica y antes de empezar con este espacio, les recuerdo que tenemos un convenio con Dickinson Law que da becas mínimo del 50% para todos los beneficiarios en el programa de LLM. Entonces, antes de introducir a nuestro invitado de hoy, les recuerdo que pueden ir dejando sus preguntas en el canal de Q&A y las estaremos respondiendo al final de la sesión. Hoy me encuentro con Anthony. Anthony, it is a pleasure to have you here. And you can start your presentation.
Well, thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here. I really appreciate it, and it's really nice to connect with you, Karen, and to reconnect with all of the good folks at COLFUTURO. It's a pleasure, truly. And folks, if you're just joining us, I was just having a little private bar conversation with Karen, and I was telling her that I was literally just in Colombia last week, and for actually the previous 2 weeks. I had the pleasure of visiting your capital city in Bogota, and then I moved over to the very warm climate of Cali, and then finally over to Barranquilla. So I'm wondering if any of you folks are from one of those locations today. Anyhow, it was a wonderful visit, and I had great food, met wonderful people, and here I am back working with you tonight. So this time is your time. I have a few slides about Penn State Dickinson Law, but if you have questions, I believe the chat room will be open, and any or maybe I guess not the Q&A, but mostly the chat room will be open, and my colleagues from COLFUTURO will be looking at your questions. So feel free to ask any questions that you might have, because again, this is your time, and I'd like to introduce you to Penn State Dickinson Law. Now, I unfortunately, and as I well learned last week, I am not a very good Spanish speaker. And so I hope that you're able to follow me, but I did, with the help of ChatGPT, I put my slides for this evening's talk into Spanish. So if the Spanish is just a little odd, I apologize. That's I guess, the burden and the joy of ChatGPT. Anyhow, so what I'd like to do today is to briefly provide an introduction of Penn State University, talk a little bit about Penn State Dickinson Law, and then focus specifically on our LLM program. Now, feel free to ask any questions along the way, but we'll be watching your questions as they come in, and we'll have plenty of time for a chat. Okay, so first, let me share a quick video for you. This is a video about our LLM program here at Penn State Dickinson Law.
We are Penn State Dickinson Law, a proud law school of Penn State University. Penn State University is a world-class, top-ranked research university known around the world, and Penn State Dickinson Law is Pennsylvania's first law school. We offer a one-year, flexible LLM program designed for legal professionals. For over 190 years, we have produced some of the world's finest attorneys, judges, government and corporate leaders, and legal educators. We open doors to a world of opportunities, propelling our graduates into successful legal careers. Join a vibrant community of diverse legal practitioners. Are you ready to embark on your LLM journey? Pursue your LLM degree at Penn State Dickinson Law.
Good, and you can see that video and other Penn State Dickinson Law videos on YouTube. So let's jump in. Everybody, welcome to Penn State University. I hope you've heard about Penn State University. It is a world class university. It's a top 100 ranked university in the world. So it's one of the best universities in the world. It's also a big university. We have about 90,000 students across 24 campuses in Pennsylvania. It is a public institution that serves the common good of Pennsylvania. And because we are a large university, there are well over now 700,000 living alumni all around the world. In fact, last week in Cali, I was having a city tour, and I was wearing a Penn State t-shirt. I was stopped on the street twice by people who had attended Penn State University. We're pleased to have Colombian students studying here with us, and especially in the law school. The good news about that is that as lawyers, you know that it's important to have professional networks, and at Penn State University, you'll have a large institution with whom to build lifetime partnership. And now, in the video, it showed one location. The location here in this building, this is one of two locations for Penn State Dickinson Law. This is the primary location. And in fact, I'm quite now literally sitting in this building, not out front. But anyhow, we have two locations for the law school. And in a moment, I will talk about those two locations. But either location, students come here to study for their Juris Doctor, which, as many of you know, is the first law degree in the United States for U.S. Americans. And in other words, in order to become a lawyer in the U.S., most students have to do a 4-year bachelor's degree, and then they go to law school, where they do 3 more years. In Colombia, most of you will have done a 5-year first degree in law, and then you do an LLM thereafter. And an LLM degree is 1 year. So you have a little bit faster track to becoming a professional lawyer in Colombia. And then also through an LLM, a lawyer in the United States as well. And for some of you, you may actually have long-term aspirations of becoming a professor with which might require that you have a doctorate degree. So we also have a Doctor of Juridical Science. So again, here on the screen, that we have these 3 programs, but today we're going to focus specifically on the LLM. Now, before I jump into the LLM degree, I think it's going to be important that you, whether you're considering Penn State Dickinson Law or any other law school in the United States, that you pay attention to some of the key, what I think are important decision factors on the screen. For example, think about the prestige of the institution. Think about its ranking. Think about the expertise of its faculty, or the cost. Of course, the cost is very important, the cost of attendance. Think about what scholarships the institution will be able to offer. Are you looking for a specialized or a generalized LLM degree? Anyhow, so you can see some of these important factors. And today, as I go forward in my presentation, I'm going to talk about these indirectly. But if you have questions about these, please feel free to use the chat function, which is enabled for your questions. But in short, please use today's presentation to help you make an informed decision. Because in many, and truthfully, you don't need an LLM degree, potentially. And so ask yourself why you want to do an LLM. And in the case of today, why would you like to do an LLM degree in the United States? And then particularly, why would you want to do an LLM degree at Penn State Dickinson Law? These are 3 important questions for anybody to be thinking about when you're choosing to do an LLM abroad, because it can be expensive, it can take time, it takes energy. So we want you to make an informed and good decision that meets your future goals and aspirations. Okay, so now I will jump into the LLM program. It's a 1-year program. It's a 1-year residential program. In other words, you will start here in August. Most of you would come here in August. You would graduate in May. Now, after you graduate in May, many of you will pursue OPT, or what we call optional practical training. And that OPT program is for LLM graduates that will allow you to stay on in the United States for a period of 12 months to get a job in a legal setting. And you can work full-time and earn a salary for those 12 months. Now, during those 12 months, many of you will want to take a bar exam. And most internationally trained lawyers from Colombia will take the bar exam in New York. You can do so in California and some other places, but New York is the most popular. Anyhow, so you can take the bar exam and become a lawyer in the United States, which will open up opportunities both here, back in Colombia, and other places where you might pursue your career over time. Now, the LLM program here, it's, as I said, it's a 1-year, or frankly, 2-semester program. Most students will take 12 or more academic credits in the fall semester and another 12 or more academic credits in the spring semester. So you are required to take 24 U.S. academic credits to complete the program. There are 2 courses that are required, and they're specifically required for internationally trained lawyers like yourselves who need an introduction to U.S. legal writing and research, as well as an introduction to the U.S. legal system. Because as you know, in the United States, common law is the tradition that's utilized here, whereas I believe in Colombia, you use civil law. So this course will help you bridge those 2. So those are the 2 required courses. Now, if you're planning to take a bar exam or some other or for some other reason you need to take additional courses. I will talk about the bar exam in a moment. But many of you are pursuing an LLM degree because you want to become a specialist or a specialized lawyer in particular areas of law. Now, currently here in Carlisle, again, we have the 2 locations. I'm in Carlisle. You can specialize in topics like what's on the screen: business law, civil rights, equal protection, and social justice, intellectual property, technology and privacy, litigation and dispute resolution, as well as corporate law and practice. And when I was in Colombia in the last 2 weeks, many students were interested in corporate and finance types of legal areas. Anyhow, those are the 5 concentrations that we have here in the primary location. In our other location called University Park, we actually have more than 20 concentrations currently. All of which is to say, when you come to Penn State Dickinson Law, you will take those 2 required courses that I mentioned, plus you will concentrate in a specific area of law. If you wish, it's not required, but you will concentrate, and that will give you a selection of courses that will support your expertise in a deeper area. Now, I mentioned a moment ago the bar exam. Here, as I said, many internationally trained lawyers like yourselves will take the New York bar exam. So while you are a student here with us, or frankly at any other law school, you will need to take certain required courses in order to be eligible for the bar exam. So for example, here you see on the screen 2 credits in professional responsibility. Now, to be honest, if you were not planning to take the bar exam, you probably won't take that course. But if you are planning to take a bar exam in the United States, then you will be required, at least in New York, to take that course, professional responsibility. Now, if you're not sure whether or not you want to take a bar exam in the US or not, my advice is still take the course, because later on in your career, you may find a need to have a US law license. And if you haven't taken the right courses, you won't be able to sit for the bar exam. So it's always best to be safe than sorry. Anyhow, taking the bar exam, once you take the bar exam, then you will ultimately, assuming you pass, will be licensed to practice law in New York. And then after that, if you get a job elsewhere in the United States and you want to practice law, say in Texas, then you can apply for reciprocity to be able to practice law in Texas. So it's quite different from Colombia, where you have one law system with one bar exam for the country. Here we have a different bar process for each state. And this reciprocity allows you to practice law outside. And frankly, many lawyers in the United States are licensed to practice in multiple. Okay, so I'm throwing a lot out right now, so feel free to ask any questions as you wish in the chat. Okay, so in order to apply for Penn State Dickinson Law, you need to have your first degree in law, unless you are nominated by one of our partner institutions there in Colombia. And we have partner institutions with several partner relationships with several institutions in Colombia. If you're a current student at one of those institutions, you may have special application privileges, and we can talk about that. But anyhow, generally speaking, you need to have your first degree in law, for many of you, that the 5-year LLB. we ask for, but don't require experience in law. And many of you, I believe in Columbia, will have done at least 6 months of a practicum in a legal setting, and that's going to be very helpful. And then, of course, you need to have English. If you're understanding me today without any problem, that's great. But just keep in mind that study of speaking English versus studying law in English is quite different. So it's quite challenging. So don't overestimate your ability to study in English rather than just speak in. And the simple aspect about once you have the criteria, then you can apply, and you can either apply on our website directly, which is easy to do. You just go to our website there. You can see the QR code in the bottom left-hand corner. Or you can go to the Law School Admission Council and apply. That's LSAC. And when you apply, you will have to include a personal essay and some of the other documents noted on the website. And just note when you're writing your essay to go back to those 3 questions I mentioned earlier. Why do you want to do an LLM? Why do you want to do it in the United States? And why do you want to do an LLM at Penn State University? Those 3 questions are really helpful to frame how you write your essay. And it also, how you write your essay will help us determine how big of an investment to make in your future. And one way we demonstrate our investment in your future success is through scholarships. So the strongest application usually gets the highest scholarships. So think about your personal essay and your other documents. Okay, now I mentioned a couple of times now that Penn State Dickinson Law has 2 locations. And indeed we do. We have a location in Carlisle and a location in State College. Let me explain briefly about the difference between the 2 locations. Here on your screen in blue, this is the Atlantic Ocean. So you have New York City here, Philadelphia, and down here on the bottom, that's Washington, D.C. right here. For example, from Carlisle, I can drive my car to Washington, D.C. in about 90 minutes. So it's not very far. The reason why Carlisle is here, or actually why the law school is here, is because Harrisburg is the capital city of Pennsylvania. So arguably, this is the legal and the political center of Pennsylvania. And so the law school was established here almost 200 years ago. So in fact, Penn State Dickinson Law is one of the oldest and most well-established law schools in the United States. And it is right here in this small town called Carlisle. And I live in Carlisle. I love living in Carlisle. It's a small historic town. It's a walking town. So I walk pretty much everywhere I go. Today I walk to work, of course. Our dean walks to work. It is also, this building here is part of the law school. It is 100% law school. In other words, you won't have other students here in other disciplines. Every student here is a law school student. Every faculty member is a law school professor. So this is an ideal location, a very focused and concentrated location for you to come and do your 1-year LLM program. It's a very wonderful opportunity for you to network and to really focus in on your LLM degree. Our second location is in a city. Actually, the name of the city is called State College. It's kind of strange. But anyhow, the name of the location is called University Park. So here we have a location called University Park. Here our location is called Carlisle. Anyhow, the University Park location is Penn State's largest campus. There are over 50,000 students there. And the law school is one law school location within the larger university context. So there you will meet students from all disciplines, and it's a very fun place. That's also where the big football team is. For example, a football, by the way, I mean this kind of football. And we have 110,000 people in the stadium for every football game. So when you consider Penn State Dickinson Law, you can choose to study either in Carlisle or State College. They basically have the same curriculum, the same offerings. It's just in a different context. Carlisle, where I have lived for 5 years, is very convenient to East Coast cities. The students can take the train to go to New York. State College may be a little bit less convenient, but very beautiful area on Penn State's largest campus. I lived there for 8 years and I loved living in State College. And so essentially you can choose your location. Now, again, here's the main building of Penn State Dickinson Law at our primary location in Carlisle. So if you grab your phone, you can look at this QR code where you can take a tour of the law school. And it truly is a very modern, it looks very traditional on the outside, but on the inside, it's quite modern and very elegant. And here again is the second law school location called University Park. Again, you can use this QR code to take a virtual tour. And as you can see, this building is much more modern and large, and it is one building among many, many buildings on Penn State's largest campus. It's a beautiful building. They are both ultra modern on the inside, and you can choose either location. I will tell you, many Colombian students choose the largest location, but I'm hoping some of you will also choose to come here and study with me in Carlisle. You can choose either. Now let's talk about cost. That's a big question, right? Currently, this is the cost of attendance. Now, this is a tricky slide to show. What cost of attendance is, it's tricky. So there's tuition, then there's fees and insurance. So if you are admitted to Penn State Dickinson Law, you will have a scholarship. And fortunately, with COLFUTURO, we have a wonderful partnership with COLFUTURO. And if you receive COLFUTURO funding, you will automatically receive a minimum 50% scholarship to study at Penn State Dickinson Law. It could be higher, and it very well may be higher, but it's at least a minimum of 50%. So in other words, that $60,000 automatically goes down to $30,000. So you can go to a top 100 ranked university for about $30,000 in tuition, but it could be even more if your scholarship is higher. Now, here's why it gets tricky. These numbers here are just estimates, meaning how much we estimate that you will spend for textbooks or how much we estimate for you to spend on your apartment. These numbers are provided to us from a standard setting organization, but in reality, you will not spend. In reality, you will not spend that much money. I do not. I live here and I have a big house and I do not spend this much money myself. So if you come here and you live like a king, maybe you'll spend this much money and maybe you'll spend more. But most of you will get roommates and you will save money and not spend this much. Now, here's why it's tricky. In order to get a visa to study in the United States, you have to show proof that you have this much, even though you're not going to spend this much money. You have to show proof that you have access to that much money now, minus your scholarship. So it's a little tricky. So again, you have to show proof of funding in order to get a visa, but you will not be spending this much money. So think about that issue and feel free to ask any questions about that. Okay, and I've reached my 25-minute warning here. So let me just say that, again, ask yourselves why you want to do an LLM degree, why you want to do an LLM degree in the United States, and particularly why at Penn State Dickinson Law. For many of you, it's going to be based on your career, and you want to improve your career. And here at Penn State Dickinson Law, we take your career very seriously, and we'll provide the support and guidance as you need to build your resumes and to boost your career. Okay, so with that, let me take a breath and ask my COLFUTURO host if they have any clarifications that I should provide, or if any questions have come in that people would like to have answered.
Yes, Anthony, we have one question.
Mhm.
It is about the agreement with COLFUTURO. You mentioned that it is a minimum of 50% tuition discount. If you could please elaborate on the criteria or the factors that determine if the admitted student might receive a discount greater than 50%.
Well, okay, that's two-part question actually. If they receive funding from you, from COLFUTURO, and COLFUTURO informs us of this, then we will automatically provide that minimum scholarship. We love having Colombian students here. We have a lot of Colombian students here, and they do very well. And because of that, we want them to keep coming. And so we love our partnership with COLFUTURO. That said, when a student applies, we will consider up to 100% scholarship, depending on their application. Again, some factors are very important. One is I really want to make sure that they are answering those three questions I keep saying. Two, we look at holistically everything from their previous academic performance, the letters of recommendation, but generally it's really about that investment question. Scholarships are not an award for previous performance. It's an investment in future performance as well. So if we see a student who really is very promising, and I can tell you last week in Colombia, I met with some students that were so incredible. I was so impressed that I immediately wrote down in my notebook, in fact, right here in my little notebook, I wrote down and said, these two students should have 100% scholarship. And we have students here right now from Colombia that have 100% scholarships. And for us, that's an investment in their success, and their success equals our success. And so we hope to continue that. Did that answer your
Okay.
question?
Yes, thank you. And there's some questions about the academic aspect of these LLM. Are the LLM students integrated with the JD students? They share the same classes or professors?
Well, that's a really important question. Remember, I mentioned here about some of these factors for decision. One thing I wrote about are classes integrated or separate. And what I mean by that is specifically regarding the JD students. In certain types of LLM programs, LLM students are usually all together and not integrated with the American students. But here at Penn State Dickinson Law, all LLM students and JD students are in classes together because they're both essentially graduate programs. And so in Carlisle, we have fewer LLM students and more US American students. And so if students who select Carlisle, they will be very much in a US American context, which is wonderful, I think, to make US friends and develop long-term professional networks. Our location rather in University Park has more LLM students, many times more LLM students, and fewer US students to a certain extent. And because of that, the classroom feels more international with students coming from various different parts of the world. And so both are good. So it just depends on really what students want. So it will be, other than those two required courses, all students will be in class with US students to a certain extent.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. There's two more questions. The
Mhm.
first one is, what is the job placement rate for international students? And if besides COLFUTURO, does the university offer other scholarships or they can be combined?
Well, the job placement rate is that's a question that I cannot answer, nor can anyone. And the reason why is it's very tricky right now in the United States. And so if someone comes into this country as a student, they are seen as a student, not not with an intent to immigrate. So in certain ways, it's very challenging for an international student to stay in the US permanently for employment. So rather, it's important that law schools in the US, we focused more heavily on OPT placements for students than permanent jobs. But it's true that many LLM students who look for permanent jobs can find them, and many do successfully, but we don't track that statistic because it is not an accurate indicator of anything other than immigration policy. So we can't do that. Now, for our JD students, we do track that information. And I can tell you, I forget the exact data, but it's something like 97% of all JD students had a job, a well-paying job within 6 months of graduation. So those are the kinds of things that we can track, but we can't do that for international lawyers necessarily. And to your second question about law, about scholarship, the one primary way we can provide funding for international students, and this is true of any university really, is through tuition-based scholarships, meaning we lower the tuition. Many government loans and scholarships require U.S. citizenship or permanent residency. So many international students are not eligible for those kinds of funds. And then there are private funds, and many LLM students do pursue private funding. It's hard, to be honest. It's usually best to focus on resources in Colombia, as well as coupled with the scholarship from us. So for example, if a student gets a COLFUTURO award plus our scholarship, and then they later return to Colombia, and I understand when they do that, their part of their loan is forgiven, and in part. And so my hope is that kind of balancing is really most important. Have I gotten that wrong, Karen?
No, yes, that's perfect. Yes, that's how it works for COLFUTURO.
So it's very difficult to find for non-US citizens or permanent residents. It's very difficult to find funds in the United States. There are some, and there are websites, and I can show you, and there are some of those websites on our website. Some of those sources are noted on our website for students to find. But also the second question to that is, sometimes students think they can use money that they will earn toward their proof of funding. So some of you will want to work on campus, get a job while you're a student. And you can do that. You can work on campus up to 20 hours a week during the school year. And so you can earn money while you're here. The reality, though, is you cannot project future earnings for your visa. But that said, once you're here, you can take a job. And in Carlisle, because it's smaller, there are fewer opportunities available for on-campus employment. At University Park, because it's much larger, there are more opportunities. The reality is, if you don't have enough money, truly, don't come, because it's a 1-year program and you're going to be very, very busy. And in all of my time at Penn State Dickinson Law, I've never seen a student have enough time to work 20 hours. You're just really busy. It's hard. Law school's hard. So don't plan to come and then work on campus to earn your way. It just is not realistic. You're just too busy.
Okay, Anthony, thank you. There is another question. It is, where can people find the information about the professors who teach the courses?
I'm going to, on our website, there is a section here. Let me see if I can find it real fast and show you. I'm just going to open up our website. There it is. So if you just go to academics, this is a new website. I have to figure it out myself. Oh, here we are, faculty. Here's our faculty. And so you can read about our faculty here. You can see each person and their profiles. For example, this person here, Danielle Conway, is our dean. She's in charge of the law school, and you can read a little bit about her expertise and publications and things here about each individual faculty. Here's one of our associate deans, Jeff Dodge. He's a terrific man, and you can read more about these and other faculty members.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions we have for today. But before we finish, I want you to share with us a recommendation, that something people have to know or should know before doing the application for Dickinson Law.
Okay, that's a really good question, Karen. First of all, there's my name and my you can contact me at that address there on the website, or you can see the QR code as well. One thing that I would recommend everyone do, but very few do, is ask if you're applying to Penn State Dickinson Law or some other law school. Ask for an interview. Ask for a one-on-one meeting with the law school, and come to that meeting with questions that you really want to know. And the reason I recommend that you do that is because this is a big decision. Going to earn a master's degree all the way in another country, that's a big decision. You really want to make sure you are making the right decision. So ask the school where you're applying for a one-on-one meeting. And if you'd like, ask them for an email or two for currents. On our website, you can actually connect with current students on our website through WhatsApp. So let me just go back here, for example. If you go to our website again, and you see here, like if you just say, go to LLM admissions, for example, and in a moment, hopefully, there will be a little image that pops up. Well, for some reason, it's not popping up at the moment, maybe because I'm on Zoom. But there's a WhatsApp icon that populates right here, and you can reach out to current students and ask them questions. But definitely do that kind of triage, that kind of work, because it's really important to make sure you feel 100% comfortable. And maybe a second piece of advice, Karen, is don't apply to 5. Some students feel like they have to apply to many different institutions. Don't do that. Don't waste your time. Apply to 1 or 2 schools that you really want to go to. And if you meet the criteria, you're likely to be admitted. So make sure you're not just shopping. It's just a waste of time for you. So focus where you really want to study and make that happen.
Okay, thank you, Anthony, for all the information, for your recommendations, and for being with us today in this webinar. Thank you so much. Muchas gracias a las personas que se conectaron. Espero que esto les haya sido de mucha ayuda para su aplicación y que estén el próximo año en Dickinson Law. Que estén muy bien. Buenas noches.